Delmarva Today with Don Rush.
The Salisbury City Council is found to be in violation of the Open Meetings Act. We'll have an exclusive interview with the new council president, April Jackson, on our first full meeting of the council. It's off and running for Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long as she makes her bid to become governor of Delaware. We'll take a look at the history of the poultry industry on the peninsula and those who work there with Joanne Guilfoy and her new book, Chickens on Delmarva. Welcome to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. In our studio this afternoon is Greg Bassett, editor and general manager of the Salisbury Independent. And on the phone with us is Susan Canfor, reporter for Coastal Point. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Don.
Hi, Don.
So, Greg, I want to first turn to you and this ruling by a Maryland State Board that found the Salisbury City Council was in violation of the Open Meetings Act during its work session in June. Here's the new president of the council, April Jackson, at this week's meeting.
As the council's closed session summary indicates, the city administrator also fielded questions from the council. During this and other parts of the closed session discussion, the council was not merely consulting with counsel to obtain legal advice. Because the council did not invoke any other exception under 3-305B, that would have permitted such discussion to take place in a closed session. The conclusion is that the council violated the act when it closed the meeting to the public under the legal advice exception of 3-305B7, but then engaged in closed session discussion that exceeded the bounds of that expectation.
So, Greg, what a way to make of this. I believe it involved the plans for downtown development.
Yeah, so they have definitely admitted that they made a mistake, and they've come clean on that, and that's a good thing. Just for the record, I'm opposed to any closed meetings whatsoever. I understand why they closed them, but my job as a newspaper person is to be an advocate for meetings being open in all situations. But I understand how this happens, and in this case, timing didn't make things better. So there was a kind of a contentious meeting about the downtown development issue. Council had to go from the result of that meeting, things that were raised in that meeting, they wanted to go into closed session to discuss some things with their lawyer. They did that. That angered some people who were attending. Suddenly, the council's going into closed session, seemingly to make a decision without us hearing what their reasoning was. And then they did closed session business, but they also expanded in that conversation beyond closed session business. And no one in that room went, wait a minute, hold on. We're going back into something that can be said in open session. Let's reopen the doors. Let's, keep our conversation with the lawyer confined to closed session material. Let's reopen it. They didn't do that. They were too casual about it, and they were busted by the opponents. And it's a good thing because, as I said, it's up to me to how to keep an eye on this Open Meetings Act situation in all the different governments.
Is it going to have any particular impact, do you think, on development and the things that they've done?
No, the process was far enough along that it was sort of a done deal. It didn't matter that some of the people did not realize where things stood in the process, and they were opposed to the final element in the, was it lot 15 in terms of the parking there. But this thing was already on the road, and it was sort of a, tying up all the loose ends situation. The proponents got there a little bit late on this thing. So when you hear people say, well, their vote was illegal, no, it was not. What they should have done was reopen that meeting, but the vote was not illegal.
Now, my understanding by the work sessions, you can't really sort of take an official vote. You have to have an official meeting, right?
Yeah, they have a consensus, but this was a regular meeting of the council.
The other issue that came up was in the council was Mayor Jack Heath, who rose for a moment of reflection and condemned the 1931 lynching of Matthew Williams, and specifically he had a reference to the firehouse where the city hall is now located. Here's what he had to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we acknowledge the past wrongdoings from those who worked within these walls, who contributed to the lynching of Matthew Williams. We condemn the actions of anyone who was involved in this incident.
So what do we make of that statement? He used the word condemn. I know that the local NAACP has said they want the word apology.
Yeah, Monica Brooks, who leads the Wycomico NAACP, got up at the end of the meeting, and she was very gracious and appreciated the mayor's comments at the beginning of the meeting. He actually intertwined those comments with the opening prayer session, so it wasn't like it was a separate thing on the agenda for him to address this issue, but it's obvious that he's aware of it. He was using it as an opportunity to acknowledge the situation and use the word condemn. Ms. Brooks said they would really like the word apologize. I don't know if there's a legal problem if they use the word apologize, that they leaves them culpable somehow. I need to do some reporting on that. She didn't seem completely dissatisfied, but she said that they're going to work together and try to get an apology.
Because I know when I talked to April Jackson afterwards, she thought that the word apology was appropriate and perhaps needed.
Yeah, Jack Heath is under a lot of pressure to use the word apology, and he is not yet, and that's not like him, based on how I know. So that's why I'm wondering if there's something else going on here, and I need to find that out. But he was very strong in his word condemnation and, acknowledged the situation. And, if anything, I'm not sure that I knew about the history of the building in terms of the use of the rope and the fire chief and things like that. So it's been, enlightening to all of us. It reminds us of, the transparency and all that, and just to remember who we are, who we came from.
Susan, the big story in Delaware this week was the anticipated announcement by Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long to make the run for governor of Delaware. Here's a bit of what her announcement sounded like this week.
We need a future that level sets, that no matter your background, no matter where you come from, that you can prosper. And that we together have a future that protects all rights and that keeps our communities safe. I stand here today to declare my candidacy, Bethany Hall Long, to be the governor of the first state of Delaware.
So what are we to make of this announcement?
Yes, Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long did announce her candidacy for Delaware governor on Tuesday this week in Wilmington. And when she did, she promised to work for a future that is bright. The 59-year-old Bethany Hall Long was raised on a farm in Millsboro, and she's been the lieutenant governor with Delaware Governor John Carney for the past 8 years, almost a full 8 years, 2 4-year terms. And she's now running as only the second woman governor in the state's history. When she announced on Tuesday, she said her plan is to work to make sure we have the best Delaware for people to live, work, and raise a family. We must have that, she said, and I can make that reality with you. I stand here today to declare my candidacy, and I want to be the second female governor of Delaware, she said. And as she said those words, the audience was chanting, Bethany, Bethany, and they were waving red and blue signs. It was very, very exciting time, and everybody was kind of wound up in the room. It was a very, very large crowd in the room in downtown Wilmington. And as they chanted her name, she kind of laughed and she said, all right, I love the enthusiasm because, as you know, I have very little energy, which is kind of a joke because for her age, she's very energetic and she's very busy. So Delaware has the economic resources, she said, and the vitality to ensure that businesses thrive in Delaware while they provide good-paying jobs. Later that afternoon, I talked to the lieutenant governor for an article in this week's Coastal Point newspaper, and she said she's a Sussex County girl through and through. She was raised on a farm by parents of great faith, and they helped her shape her values, especially as she entered the nursing field. When she was 11, her father was injured, very seriously injured, in an accident that left him wheelchair-bound, and he was unable to work from that time on. Around that same time, one of her 2 older brothers was diagnosed with stage 4 blood cancer, and her mother was diagnosed with brain cancer. And the doctors at that time said her mother's survival rate was 5% or less. But she survived and is still living and still reading. Coastal Point, I'm happy to say. So Bethany Hall Long says that led her to a career of nursing and also a deep faith herself and in believing that everything can be accomplished, even when it looks like the odds are very low. So the election will be on November 5th, 2024. Right now, so far, she's competing with one other Democratic candidate, Mike Meyer from Newcastle County. I believe that primary is in April next year. And by the way, Dawn, the first female Delaware governor was, as you know, Governor Ruth Ann Minner. She was elected in 2001 and served for 2 terms until 2009, and she died in 2021. So we're looking forward to great things from Bethany Hall Long, and she says she'll be down here in this area in Lower Sussex County to have town halls and other meetings and meet with constituents. So we're looking forward to talking to her and finding out more about her future plans as the months go by.
So what is her favorable rating like? I saw 65%, and she hasn't raised as much money, obviously, as Meyer has yet.
No, not yet, but she is very popular. Of course, she's been lieutenant governor. She's very personable. She has a way of making everybody feel important around her. She remembers the people that she's met. I met her like a year ago, and she remembered me when I saw her again. She has the personality and the dedication and the caring way about her that makes her a favorite. I'm not sure about the percentages yet. We'll find out more about that as more polls are released. But her personality certainly is winning, and she's certainly a charming, caring person. So I think that'll go a long way in her election.
Greg, I want to turn to you. We had this interview with the Maryland governor, Wes Moore, with the global news organization Semaphore, and basically the headline is he's not interested in running for higher office.
Yeah, he has said this many times before, and the reason it's news right now is that there's been a lot of columns written, in the mainstream media about whether President Biden is too old to run and whether the new generation should step forward. Mitt Romney, and stepping down or announcing his retirement from the Senate this week, talked about the new generation, said that both Trump and Biden should not run. So there has been some talk about what candidates might be available here in the last second to become a Democratic nominee. Wes Moore is always on that short list, and he shot that down in an interview with a national media conglomerate, one of those ones that everyone pays attention to. So I think it was purposeful on his point to get out there and say that he really wants to be the governor of Maryland first, and that he's got some problems to solve in the state before he could think about those other things.
Do you think that this was just simply a not now issue for him, or do you think that down the road he's going to be looking at? Because when I kind of heard at least the reporting on this, it almost sounded like he was like closing the door. That's not my background. I'm going to be governor. Yeah,
they all do that, but in the end they sort of position themselves as if they've been pulled into it. It's not their choice. Too many people have asked them to step forward, and that could happen based on his success as governor. We see it happen with Youngkin, Glenn Youngkin in Virginia. He's just at a 3-year mark in a term, still trying to accomplish some stuff. Does that really qualify him to be president? The way you and I were raised in terms of what the qualifications have to be in terms of resume, a lot of that's out the window. Moore is very aware when people call him a celebrity politician, in Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of mode, Jesse Ventura kind of mode. People who were not classically brought through the system became governors. He's kind of in the same mode for that, and he resents when people say that because he really wants to prove himself, he says.
Well, maybe he'll catch a little Potomac fever.
Exactly, that's what happens.
Susan, I want to turn to you. I understand town of Salisbury was looking at charging some impact fees. What's the situation there?
Yes, the town of Salisbury is growing, Don, as we've talked about here before. And one of the many indicators is that this past Monday, at the regular town council meeting, the town council added a chapter to its town code to implement impact fees. Impact fees, of course, are imposed by local governments on new or on proposed developments, and they help to pay for the cost of providing public services. And those fees will stay in the town code. They'll be listed in the town code, and they will be assessed upon new development of construction and contribute to the cost of operations for the fire department, the public library, and the police department. So also on Monday, they added that chapter to the town code, and they also set the amount of the new impact fees. Those impact fees will take effect at the beginning of October, and the fees will be $500 for fire protection, $2,500 for police protection, and $500 for the library services impact fee. So they're set now. They haven't started yet, but they are set now to take effect beginning of October 1st. And I think we'll see the town benefit from those impact fees, certainly financially, because the growth is just so fast, and there's more of it coming all the time. So the time is right, I think, for impact fees in Shelbyville. But growth in that little town is something to keep an eye on. It isn't surprising me, and I've been covering Shelbyville for years. So keep an eye on that.
Finally, Susan, also, this is Bike Week in Ocean City. What's the word about getting down there? It can be a little crowded?
Noisy Ocean City, crowded Ocean City. Yes, I'm near Ocean City right now. Hundreds of two-wheel and three-wheel and custom bikes and motorcycles are in Ocean City or coming to Ocean City for this weekend's 2023 Bike Fest. It's the largest motorcycle rally on the East Coast. But it's not just them riding up and down Coastal Highway and going back and forth to Salisbury and into Delaware and parking at certain locations so people can take a closer look. These bikers also like to have a good time, and they know good music. And this year they'll be entertained by iconic stars, including Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, Billy Idol, the Struts, and yes, even ZZ Top will be in Ocean City to entertain the bikers. There will be shows at the Ocean City Convention Center, and bikes will parade down the boardwalk in Ocean City. The inlet parking lot is being closed as a venue for the bikers, and all the information about Bike Week and its events are on the OC Bike Fest Facebook page. So if you'd like to see those shiny machines, don't miss the opportunity to be in Ocean City this weekend.
We've been speaking with Greg Bassett, editor and general manager of the Salisbury Independent. And on the phone, Susan Canfor, reporter for Coastal Point. Appreciate you both stopping by this afternoon, chatting with us.
Thanks, Don.
You bet, Don.
You're listening to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. The Salisbury City Council has a new president, April Jackson. You're listening to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush. Her father, Billie Jean Jackson, was a prominent community activist who was involved in a lawsuit that created substantial changes in the at-large city council. She has now moved up from vice president after Mir Boda left to become director of housing and community development for Salisbury. Jackson was elected in 2015. She also becomes the second African-American woman to occupy the position. And Jackson is being challenged in her district by the first, La Vanzella Von Ziggers, in the 1st District. Meanwhile, in a moment of reflection, Mayor Jack Heath issued a statement recalling the involvement of those at the firehouse, the 1931 lynching of Matthew Williams. The building is now the official headquarters for Salisbury City Hall, including the mayor's office.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we acknowledge the past wrongdoings from those who worked within these walls, who contributed to the lynching of Matthew Williams. We condemn the actions of anyone who was involved in this incident. Let us now observe a moment of silence in remembrance of Matthew Williams and all victims of racial violence.
And after a moment of silence, he added,
As we move forward, let us unite in the commitment to creating a safe and inclusive space where everyone's voice can be heard. Our goal is to come together as one community dedicated to building a prosperous and harmonious Salisbury. Thank you very much.
And during the council session, Monica Brooks, president of the local branch of the NAACP, called on the council to issue an apology for the 1931 lynching of Matthew Williams and others. We caught up with Jackson after her first full council meeting. What's your sense about the role that you've taken on?
It's a very important role. It's a big role, and I love it because I know and feel that I can be fair to everyone, the constituents, citizens, and our council. So that's the most important thing to me right now, is being transparent, professional, and doing what needs to be done for our constituents and the citizens of Salisbury.
So what are your top priorities in going into this job?
Transparency, economic development, affordable and fair housing, and youth crime.
So what about transparency? What is it about the city has either not done or you think should do?
Well, the city should actually be more open to what's going on to our constituents and our citizens, because we're not being forthcoming, and we haven't been forthcoming. Not only to the citizens, but to some of the council members. We were kept in the background on some things, and we didn't know until it happened. So my thing is now that we have to be transparent, and people trust you when you're transparent, and that's what we need. We need the people to trust us, and that's what I want. I want them to trust me as I trust them. So being transparent opens up a big door for trust.
Why do you think there wasn't that kind of transparency?
I'm not for sure why it wasn't, but I can't speak on that. But what I can speak on is it happening now. Under this administration, we want to be more transparent, and I just think it's a need.
How do you see, by the way, probably one of the biggest issues that are going to come before you, which of course is the downtown development, the parking lots, of course. And are you confident, A, that project can succeed, but two, this issue about transparency? Because you've gotten some of the business people seem to feel caught off guard, I think, in terms.
Yeah, they really are caught off guard. I mean, I'm caught off guard to a certain extent because I think that this should be discussed with the business owners that own businesses downtown at first. You know, that's what I mean about transparency. You're going to develop something, but the people who are grassrooted in the downtown area don't even know anything about it, and that was the problem with me. We should have discussed this with those people so it wouldn't be an element of surprise for them.
Are you confident that you're going to be able to provide the kind of number of parking lots after this thing is built?
No. No, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I was against it. Yeah, so no.
The local branch of the NAACP has called for a formal apology. We heard that tonight. What's your response to that?
To do it.
To do it?
Yes. We owe the people that. And then it does bring an inclusion and makes everybody feel like they're not at odds, and that we feel like it was the city's responsibility, not saying it was our responsibility, but the city initiated this. The city council, the fire chief that was president at that time, and I think we owe the people that apology.
Much of the emphasis that the local NAACP has placed is that they want the word apology, that it's not enough just simply to condemn it. Is there something special about that word, do you think?
Yeah, there's something special about it. It is, and it doesn't hurt to apologize. It doesn't, you know, but only thing about it, I like to give heartfelt apologies. And when it comes from the heart, I like for it to come from my heart. If I'm apologizing for something, let it come from my heart. I don't want a written speech from somebody else. I want it from myself.
So in terms, by the way, of public safety, what would you like to see in terms of public safety? I know it's one of your top issues.
Public safety, we need more officers for real. We really do. So working on getting people to apply. We have done some things with the union, with our union and the labor codes and things. So hopefully, from what the chief is saying, the acting chief is saying, we're getting some applicants to come in so we can do a little bit more in our city as far as security and making sure people are safe and making sure some of the things that I said are happening in our communities that are not happening in our communities, and keeping our kids safe.
Because we had the recent mass shooting, I think, just a few weeks ago, and what was your reaction to that, and do you ever think that sort of thing would come to Salisbury?
It's a lot of things I didn't think would happen in Salisbury that are happening right now. Yeah. So, of course, I do believe that it's a possibility, but working together, as I said earlier at our meeting, working together to be vital and stable and healthy, and working with our law enforcement and our fire departments and things of that sort, making the entities come together as one, we can be more sup to help in our communities and prevent those kind of things from happening.
You also, Tony, you expressed your concern about the opioid and the drug addiction that we're seeing now in all the neighborhoods. Is there something the city can do more, or what do you think can be done?
I'm not sure how we can do it, but I do know we need to sit to the table and figure out a way. And, you know, it's not going to take just me. It's going to take law enforcement, fire department, our city council, our mayor, and some other entities to come in and help us with this problem. It's not something that we're going to solve right away, but it's something that if we have a plan and work on it, we can achieve some goals.
The other concern I know you have is about the young people in the city. What do you think the city should be doing?
You know, I'm going to be honest. I asked to impose the curfew for the kids. I really did, because I'm tired of seeing our kids die, and I'm tired of seeing our kids murder their friends, their other children. I'm tired of it, and I don't think that it's right, and it's not right, and I don't want it to happen again. And I think that if we have our children in the houses by a certain time, we're preventing them from coming into harm's way. And what child at 14, 15, 16 should be out 12, 1 o'clock at night on a school night, or even in the summertime? What are you doing out that late? I'm not even out that late. So, you know, it's some things that we need to impose that, you know, would help with our children. But we have to work, and the wheel should be spinning all the time. We should be engaging in conversation. I used to be on one of the Safe Streets team with the state, county, and the city, and it was phenomenal. And I wish we could go back to that, because we helped a lot of people, and we helped, and people saw us. We were visible in the city, and we had contact from all communities saying what's going on in your community and how can we deal with this issue, and we dealt with it.
Finally, how do you see your role as a president of the city council any different than some of your predecessors that we've seen in the past few years?
I'm a different person. Yeah, I'm a different person. I'm a no-nonsense person, and I just want to do what's right by the people. So that's my engagement. My engagement is the people and doing what's right for this city, to make this city thrive, and to work together with my council and my mayor and my administrator and all the other employees of the city to make things as pleasant as possible for them.
April Jackson, as she takes on her new role as president of the Salisbury City Council. You're listening to Delmarva Today. This is Don Rush.
Delmarva Today with Don Rush.